Let's talk crochet. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is Slow Crochet. This is episode 078, and today I am checking in with all the things that I have been crocheting in the past week. Now, today is the first podcasty episode that I'm doing in the month of June, and as I like to do, I want to first start by checking in on a scrap blanket that I've been working on. This one is one that came with me on my recent family trip to Asheville, North Carolina, which is about 5 hours, give or take traffic through the mountains from where I'm at in Nashville, Tennessee. So time in the car meant that I had time to work on my crochet, and this is one of the projects that I really wanted to progress on. So here we have it thus far. It's getting a little bit cumbersome. It's definitely more of a baby blanket size by now. Here's my center that I have marked with a couple of stitch markers. But the main thing that I wanted to do here was transition in the border color. I'm sure it's pretty subtle to you, but this last row that I did all the way around is using that kind of birch tweed as a border color rather than that cream color. So small things there. I'm realizing how I'm just attracted to the same colors over and over, and I'm a little concerned that I don't have as much bright colors to kind of flow out into the rest of the blanket. I think it's going to be kind of brown heavy, kind of green heavy, kind of darker color heavy, and not as much of like orange or warmer colors there. So we'll see what happens. I'm still holding out that Hobby Lobby will have a clearance this year, and hopefully I'll be able to acquire some good acrylics there. But yeah, not everything is dull and drab. There are some brighter colors to mix in, but I also just don't want to get yarn just for this blanket. I genuinely want it to be scraps. I will drop a picture in right here just of the overview of where I'm at so far. I think the round of hexagons that I'm on, I think it took about 30 hexagons. So the next one will just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we'll just keep going on this until it's at a size that I like or until I run out of yarn. For traveling, I had all of the interior pieces made, and so I just did my join as you go in that birch tweed as we rolled down the road. My husband was driving, and I'm always so thankful that he's willing to do that. I want to update you guys on a project that I have going using some of the yarn from the alpaca farm. So I have been working on this scarf, and last week when I checked in, I was at this stitch marker right here. I wasn't quite through the first full hank, but now I have got all the way to the third. So as it is, it's about 4 feet long. And I think when I measured to the first hank, I think it measured about 22 inches with one hank. And so this will be a nice sized scarf when it is all said and done. I really am trying hard to get this done pretty quickly. It's just kind of repetitive. It's a good project to do, but I do have to pay a little bit of attention. But I have realized with this smaller hook size, I'm using a 3.75 millimeter hook, that I can't just go indefinitely on it. I need to switch up the projects I'm doing with different sized hooks, so that way my hands can get a break and my muscles can do slightly different things. Thankfully, I've never had an issue crocheting, but it is something I just want to be aware of. Because this was semi a commission, it's something that I want to go ahead and get done before I get overwhelmed by other projects that really make my heart come alive and I can be a little bit more relaxed about them. I just don't want to have any projects that are for someone else that I tend to forget about. I want to go ahead and kind of eat the vegetables before you eat the dessert, if that makes sense. Even though I am a big fan of vegetables, to be honest, I actually do love my veggies. So hopefully I will finish that this week. I did mention that I like to have several projects that are using different hook sizes to kind of keep my hands busy and not get all kind of crampy from holding the same hooks over and over. So the project that I chose to do this week is using a medium size 4 yarn. This is just something from my stash, and I took a look at it and I just pulled it out and I thought, I know what that's going to be. Sometimes, you know, the beauty of having a stash is you just get the idea and you're like, yep, that's it, that's the one. So what I'm using is Cascade Yarn's Cantata Hand Paints, which is a 70% cotton and 30% merino wool. And this was the color number 203. This is the first time I'd worked with a yarn like this. It's really beautiful. It's kind of this spa aqua green, kind of a sea glass green. But I think what it is this yarn is like a blown yarn. It is a tubular construction, which I presume to be the cotton. You can kind of see a little bit of the stretch there, maybe not too much stretch. But then if you kind of start to peel it back, the fuzzies are all inside, and some of the fuzzy kind of breaks through the yarn, so it kind of pops through. So I think what it is the cotton is the white on the outside, and then the merino wool is the softly colored in the middle. So this is what I chose, and I was using a 5.5 millimeter hook, one of my favorite hook sizes, and I decided to make a hat that I have made in the past, and it is the Break Free Beanie by Crystal over at Bag O' Day. Now, when I've made this in the past, I decided to modify how she begins the crown of the hat, and on Ravelry, I actually have notes of how I did the crown. In Crystal's tutorial, she does straight increases of double crochets, but I wanted to try to emulate the pattern of the stitches as I was going down. So I will leave a link in the description to that Ravelry project so that you can see if you're interested in doing further modifications like I did. I've made this hat in the past, really love it. In fact, one of the hats that I made, I accidentally sent through the wash, and it was wool and it did shrink, which was such a tragedy. We've all been there though, haven't we? This one, as a bit of a lighter weight, this should be a nice transition piece, like as it gets to fall or spring moving into summer. We are finally getting some summer-ish temperatures here, so I won't really be needing this, but I thought this would be a great hat to have in my collection. I love the pattern already. It works up really beautifully, and I can get in a rhythm with it. And I think these colors turned out really, really beautifully. I just love how the stitch pattern kind of creates a sort of braided motif, and I love how it is broken up with those double crochet rows within it as well. Double crochet and I think some single crochet as well. So definitely one of my favorite of Crystal's hats, and always happy to have another one in my collection. Good choice doing the yarn and the hat. I think it was a good match because especially as you look at it here, you can see how those kind of watery colors, those painted colors play out. It really does have a wonderful feeling of the sea or of the sand and the shores, and even that wave pattern reminds me a bit of waves on the shore. It was not enough for me to just make that hat, however. I decided that I wanted to make a cowl with it. And again, this is one of those times where I just looked in my stash, I pulled something out and I thought, now is the time to use this yarn. This is a particularly beautiful yarn that I got from a little yarn shop that is no longer in existence. In fact, I have a video about it. It was Knitting in the Good, and it was this gorgeous mustardy yellow, kind of autumnal gold, bronze. I don't know what you want to call this color, but it is just so rich and so gorgeous. So this was Knitting in the Good double cushy hand dyed, and this was a DK weight 4-ply, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon, and it was 89 DCT. So I'm not sure if she is still making these available or not. I can put some information below if I find any, but again, this was just a yarn that I'd had in my stash, waiting for just the perfect project. And as I was making the Break Free hat, I was thinking of how much I loved that pattern and how great would that be in a cowl. So here it is on. I didn't make it super drapey and wide. I wanted something that could sit just a little bit further off my neck, but still kind of give that cozy feel and just be like a small accessory that I could throw over when I was wearing a sweater and a shirt, something of that nature. I didn't really want the bulk, and I really wanted that pattern to sing and allow the beautiful yarn to sing with it. So for this cowl, I think I chained multiples of 3. I think I was maybe 72 or 75, something like that. And I just worked single crochet and then double crochet, and then I worked Crystal's pattern with a row of double crochet in between every 4 sets. If you watch the tutorial, which will be listed below, you'll get all the information there on how she does her hat, and you'll be able to kind of extrapolate what I've done. This was such a lovely yarn to work with and such a lovely pattern to get into, and once again I feel like it is the perfect match of yarn and stitch pattern. I only did 4 repetitions of that pattern. I thought that that would be long enough. I could have done a 5th, but I didn't want it to crunch down so far that I wouldn't be able to see that pattern. And as it's worked up, you just see all these different layers and depths of that fantastic color. I'm doing my best to let it show in the camera, but I am concerned that it's actually quite a bit richer and more vibrant than what is picking up. I happened to be watching the movie Dune 2 with my husband and a friend when I was working on this. It was something that I could get in a rhythm of and not have to concentrate too bad. But it made me think that these kind of stitch patterns, these ridges, are kind of like sand dunes. So maybe this is my Dune cowl. So I do have a little bit left of this. I'm thinking I might make a headband or something like that. This yarn is so beautiful that I just want every bit of it used. I don't even want scraps lying around. I want them all put to good use. So maybe a headband in the near future with what I have left here. But for now, this is gonna have to go with some of my colder weather gear, and I will pull it out in the fall. I do have one more project that I want to show you, and this is something that I took inspiration from Caroline for the Love of Crochet. She showcased a book a while ago, and y'all, in general, I am not that swayed by trends, but on the rare occasion, there are things that are shown by friends. I just have to try them for myself. So this is a book called Flower Babies, and I can't show you the front because it's from Interlibrary Loan. So what that means is my library didn't have it, but another library in their system did. So this one, it took a while, but it came to me from the Library of the Canyons, which I assume somewhere in the Southwest, New Mexico, perhaps Arizona. I'm guessing Arizona, I'd have to look it up. Because it's interlibrary loan, I only have it for a very short amount of time, so I wanted to go ahead and get into it, and I decided to make the daffodil. And here she is, my sweet little daffodil. Now, if you are a daffodil purist like I am, you would notice that this leaf shape is completely wrong for a daffodil. Yes, indeed, in this book, it is not quite precise. There are 2 different leaf shapes, but I decided to make this wider one for this little flower baby here. Now, all the babies are pretty much the same. You just do a basic baby and you can change out the hats. But my thought was this: why don't I start by making the daffodil hat, and then why don't I make a second flower baby, which I haven't done yet, I've only done the one, but I'll do another one with the more narrow leaf shape, and then maybe I'll do a couple of other flowers if I like how this turned out. And I really do like how it turned out. I think it's super sweet, super cute. And yeah, I'm looking forward to making another one. So part of my thought is this will be a gift for someone, and I'll be able to have the baby and 2 different little flowers, and then I'll do another baby for myself and 2 different flowers as well. So let's look at the book real quick. I'm not going to show the whole picture, but I do want to just note that I did go off the pattern in doing that flower. Because I am such a lover of daffodils, I just didn't think that those little petals were big enough. So I made mine bigger. I did a version of a crocodile stitch for the petals of that daffodil. And if you can imagine the main part of the hat as being kind of the trumpet of the daffodil, I think that's a bit more effective than the little hat we have here. Still super cute. Fairly easy pattern to read. These are in UK terms, so that is a little bit sticky, but it's not a huge deal. I do need to check to see if there are any notes or corrections, because there were a few things that I thought, those counts don't make sense. And when I did what I thought I ought to do rather than what was printed, I was able to come out with the proper stitch counts and the proper form. Maybe there are notes, I just need to look them up, but it didn't keep me from being able to create this adorable little flower baby. She is stuffed with yarn scraps, and she's only stuffed the head and then the body here, and then you just crochet it up and make the little bit of that flower stem there. For this flower baby, I used a tiny little bit of yellow from a Hobby Lobby clearance. I don't know what that color is, but for the main bulk of it, for the face, I used Antique Cream, and I used the color Olive for the rest, and then the color Buttercup, which is so appropriate for the flower here. Everything I used was I Love This Cotton, which is a 4-weight cotton from Hobby Lobby, and I used a 4.25 millimeter hook. So very happy with that make. Hopefully by this time next week, I'll be showing another flower baby and some other little hats. But for now, this is what I have, and I really like how she turned out. One more thing before I go, I did want to circle back around to this little flower granny square idea that I was asking you guys for your thoughts on Hirschner's yarn. My thought for this going forward is I still do want to make this blanket, but what I think I want to do is wait and see if Hobby Lobby does have their annual clearance. And if they do, I'll rack up on yarn then with this project in mind. If not, I am just going to stalk Hirschner's website, and I'm going to wait and see when they have some of their basic worsted weight yarns go on sale. I have been doing some math and trying to figure out exactly how many balls and what size colors and all that kind of stuff. I do have the plans ready to put into action. It's just a matter of whether that sale is going to drop at Hobby Lobby or whether Hirschner's will have a sale on their worsted yarn. Which one's going to come first? Yeah, I just wanted to circle back because I know that's something I'd asked you guys' opinion on, and I hadn't mentioned it since. Any other little works in progress that I haven't made any progress on during the week, I'm just not showing, but there are a few other little bits and pieces that are happening in the background. Y'all, that's it for me this week. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I really do appreciate you. Thank you to all of my subscribers. There are some new ones here. I appreciate y'all. Y'all continue to encourage me with your likes and your shares and your comments and subscribes, all that kind of stuff. It really does make my day, and it's such a joy to get to connect with y'all. You are my yarny people. I don't know what I would do without you. You've brought such joy to my life, and it's an honor to be part of yours. If I'm not your cup of tea, however, thank you so much for listening this long. I do appreciate you, and I do hope I'll see you again soon. Bye.